Hey you mob, welcome back to The Real Life. I'm here with the amazing Luke Carroll. We are back with a vengeance, baby. We're had on a hiatus because of COVID, but now we're back. We are 1.5, we have a hand sanitizer, doing all the things. But we're here to bring real deadly yarns to you with our cuppers, and I've been super excited to have this fella in our studio for a long time, and it's the one and only Mr. Luke Carroll. How are you, Bella?
I'm deadly.
You're deadly.
I'm here. I'm with you. I'm happy. I got my cuppa.
Yeah, what's in your cuppa?
It's cold. It's not hot. I don't like hot drinks.
Oh.
No, I'm not a fan of hot drinks. So I've just got the water to hydrate.
Like room temperature or like
cold? Oh no, I like cold. Whoa. Like I like Slurpees. Like even in winter.
No brain freeze?
No, bro, I don't get brain freeze. No, none of that. So cold drinks all day, every day.
I'm so jealous. Got that on the mic. I just wanted you to tell all the real life fam out there about who you are and where you're from.
Yep, well, my name's Luke Carroll. I'm born and bred on Gadigal country in Sydney here. Grew up in Woolloomooloo, in the inner city suburb of Woolloomooloo. It's my hood. But my mob is Wiradjuri, so my mob's from all the Riverina area of the Wiradjuri Nation. So that's from Yass down to Wagga, Griffith, Narrandera. So that's me. I'm a proud father.
Yes,
you
are.
My boy. I love my boy. I love boys if you're watching. Marley and Enzo, sorry. And yeah, I'm an actor. I've been acting for just a touch over 3 decades now, and I know, old fella.
So what are you, 35?
Don't call me uncle. Yeah, I'm there. Yeah, I'm 35.
No, I won't.
I do TV presenting now as well, and MC events, and
all the things.
Do my best.
All the things. I feel like you've been part of our life in this office and in this studio for a long time, but in our actual home lives, on our TVs for a really long time, which started with Liftoff. Which was my favourite show as a kid.
Yeah, was it? Deadly.
It was my favourite show as a kid.
EC?
EC.
Did EC freak you out though? Oh, good.
Not me.
Because I speak to a lot of people who recognise me from way back then. They've got good memories. And they always say that EC was this doll that had no face. And EC means every child, so it represented every child.
I didn't know that.
There you go.
That makes me love it even more.
And so this doll came to life around all these kids. So, but a lot of people used to get freaked out about it because they were only teenagers watching it, or young kids. Yeah, it was a big part of my career, and it still is, even though it's been so long. But it required me to move down to Melbourne. I'd call Mum I'd fly from Sydney on the Sunday night, like I said, and I'd arrive in Melbourne. I used to live with Aku, who played my sister.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so I lived with her and her family in Melbourne. Yeah, they took me in, and I'd ring Mum. As soon as I walked through the door, I'd ring Mum and start crying. I'm saying, Mum, big sook I was.
No. She's the person in the world that gave the best hugs. The best hug. Like if you saw Auntie Faye, you were like, I need my hug. And then you'd all of a sudden feel better. Yeah,
Mum was an Aboriginal education aide to start with at Glebe High School, and her room, she said, was always open to everybody, not just Aboriginal students. So any kids, I'd go out to a bar, during the weekends when I was a youngster, and I'd be at the bar and I'd always get a tap on the shoulder, or if I was sitting at a table, someone would come over and say, "Oh, you're Auntie Faye's mum." A Vietnamese guy or a Lebanese guy or a Tongan guy, all different nationalities would say, "Your mum got me through school, Without your mum, I wouldn't have finished school." So, and also, all the blackfellas she helped out as well. But just amazing. And when she passed, unfortunately, just under 2 years ago now, the size of her funeral was massive. It showed how much respect she had in the community and what she did. There was some things I never knew my mum did until she passed, unfortunately. But that's how humble she was.
Yes. So could she tell that you wanted to act, or was she the one that got you to Flying Doctors? Like, how did that go?
Yeah, good story, this one. So I was 9 years of age, and I was in grade 3. And we had a relief teacher come in. So our normal teacher was on maternity leave. And within the first week, I was testing the boundaries. So I was being a class clown in class the whole week. And she said, "I'm going to ring your mum." And I thought, I'm busted here, because Mum was, my mum and my father rolled into one, She was pretty staunch, like we spoke about earlier. And Mum walked through the door, and my teacher said, "Look, Mrs. Carroll, he's not in trouble, but he's got this really good energy in class that we may be able to utilise in a more positive way outside the classroom."
That's nice.
Yeah, nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
And so she said, can I set up a meeting with an agency down in North Bondi here in Sydney, and see how you go with it, because I think it'd be really good, And so we walked in there. Mum dressed me up in my deadliest clothes, and I had my big afro at the time. And wish that would come back. Anyway, I heard actors earn a lot of good money. Depends how you look at it. And so I thought I could, maybe buy my own footy boots. I love tennis as well. I could buy my own tennis racket, so I could help Mum out in those things, because if I was working, and also stuff like groceries and anything, because once I did start working and it started getting regular work, it was pretty good. But Mum said, if I touch wood, bit of wood here, bit of wood here. If I was to get into an accident and I couldn't work as an actor anymore, with an education I could then go on to further my career in another part of society. So, I gained that education, and then I finished high school and dragged a feature role, a main role in a feature film called Australian Rules, and and then it sort of snowballed again.
So that was just after your HSC?
It was about 2 years after it,
Right.
So I did a few commercials here. I did little short films and stuff, and nothing really to sort of break out like Australian Rules did for me.
Did you have a favourite, like job, role, TV series? Is there or a top three? Let's do
top three. Well, Lift Off, it was. I'll never forget that.
Yeah.
That was so much fun. I learnt so much, because I've never had any training as an actor. I've learnt as I worked, and for Lift Off, that was my biggest training ground, because we were there for 6 months in Melbourne. There was a massive, big sets, big budget, puppets. It was just, I learnt the language of how everything works.
Yeah.
And that was, even though I was homesick at times, it was the best experience. Looking back at it now, I realise how great it was for me. I grew as a person, I grew as an actor at such a young age. Remote area nurse.
Yes, I was hoping you were going to say that.
Yeah. That was pretty special to me. I'm getting goosebumps thinking about it. If you don't know about it, and if you should know about it, if not, Google it and watch the series. It's a 6-part series that was on the SBS in 2000. We shot it in 2004, and it was on air, I think, 2006. And it was about life up in the Torres Strait. It followed a remote area nurse on the islands, Musik Island in the Torres Strait. And I went up there. My character was an Aboriginal character adopted into the Torres Strait Islander family. So I learned all the dances and the language, the Creole, and I'm getting goosebumps. It was the best experience I've had. We were up on this tiny island that was, I think, 800 metres wide, 500 metres wide at its widest point, where the airstrip was for the planes.
Scary, eh?
Yeah. So it's York Island, but Musik Island is a traditional name for it. And there for 3 months. We worked 6 days a week, but we're in paradise. It was a dry island, and we worked, our butts off, but we created really something special, So I got the boys, the local lads, to take me out, catch a turtle, which is part of the initiation into manhood, and we brought it back, and all the community was there waiting on the beach for us. It was very special. The men come and took me away, and the women prepared the turtle, and then we did this big celebration dance, and then, the baby powder and the deodorant. Oh man, it was the best.
The food though.
Oh man, mate, turtle, my favourite. Yes, lobster, crayfish. Yeah, just beautiful. But I'll never forget that. Yeah. And another one, I suppose. Oh geez, I did a show with Kathy Freeman called Going Bush, and for me to travel with Kathy, she's so iconic.
Oh yeah.
Loved by all blackfellas, loved by all Australians. She's a superstar on the world stage. She competed in a sport that's global and an individual sport. So it was very hard on her, and she lit the torch at the Olympic Games here in this country. And she won the gold medal. The most pressure was on her, to win that. It was all about Kathy, those Olympic Games, and
sure was.
To travel with her for 6 weeks through Indigenous Australian communities. So we went to Central Australia, we went up to Tennant Creek, we went up to the Torres Strait again. Cape York, and to visit those communities, learn more about my culture, our culture, at a higher level, and meet some beautiful people in some beautiful communities, and some communities that, got have a bit of a bad rap in the media, but until you go there and experience it yourself, we stayed at some of those places. We extended because it was so beautiful.
Yep.
We were told, you should maybe stay there maybe a day or two. We stayed there for a whole week.
Paradise.
And the people were beautiful, and I'll never forget that. That was very, very special to travel with her and to learn more about the culture, my culture, and do it. It was beautiful.
So you've been in lots of TV series, roles on theatre. Do you have like a particular, like you talk about Kathy Freeman, who's a superstar, and we love her, but do you have a particular person that you haven't worked with yet that you're just dying to work with? Like, it doesn't have to be a blackfella, can be if you want, or like just, top 3 list of the people you just want to work with.
Well, I would have loved to have worked with Heath Ledger. Yeah, I think he's an absolute, his performance in Dark Knight was the most detailed performance by any actor I've ever seen.
Yep.
Jack Nicholson played the Joker. He's one of the best actors of our time, Jack Nicholson. And for Heath to step into that role and just absolutely nail it and just blow everybody off that screen that he shared a scene with, it's pretty special. My favourite actor who I'd love to work with is Cliff Curtis.
Oh yeah.
You know Cliff Curtis? Yeah. So he played Uncle Bully in Once Were Warriors, for you mob that may not know him.
They're all like, we know now.
Yeah. But he's just so dynamic as an actor. He's faultless. Every time I watch films he's in, he's a chameleon. He just transforms.
Wow.
His accents, his look. He's got this special look, luckily for him, that he can transform it and be a South American. He played Pablo Escobar in Blow opposite Johnny Depp.
Yep.
He was in Training Day. He played a Mexican drug lord against Denzel Washington, and he just holds his own in each of the stuff he does. I'd love to work with him. And Taika, he directed the latest Thor movie for Marvel. And he was in the movie Boy. He played the father in Boy and directed that. I'd love to work with him as well.
We'll just manifest that. Taika, if you're watching, let's go.
My sister girl, Shari Sevens, actually sort of manifested it, and it happened for her.
Yeah, she was on here with me.
Yeah. And so, I love her. I love my sister. She's one of my bestest, closest friends in the industry. She's my sister girl, Shari. So, and when she got to work with him, I was like, so stoked for her. Yeah. So stoked for her.
Well, it's coming soon. We've manifested
Cliff,
it now.
I want Cliff, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Something.
All together.
100.
We're all in. This year's been just crazy with so many people, but also what's been really interesting but also really thought-provoking is, the Black Lives Matter movement, and, blackfella's been on all platforms. Everyone's talking about it. How have you felt about it all? I mean, we joke all the time. You look up Aboriginal fella in Australia, you probably see a picture of
you. Google blackfella. No, it's tragic, the circumstances, and it's happened before, George Floyd, but that brought it to the fore for not only us as Australians, but black people around the world, and to see that footage of him was just shocking, whatever, 8 minutes or 12 minutes of, you know what I'm talking about. It was pretty hard to watch, and so it's been bubbling. We know as blackfellas, we live it every day. It's an issue for us every single day, and there's a death. There's always an occurrence of a death that's happening for the wrong reasons. Deaths in custody. There's a lot of them that have been 400 plus, 430 plus. But I think. I used to march back in the 80s, land rights marches, and we used to start at Hyde Park. No, we started at the block and march down to Hyde Park. And the faces that were only black faces that I remember seeing in those marches. It's only black fellas, These recent marches this year, there's a wave of allies that have come with us, and it's because I think they've obviously gained an education about what's happening. They've done their own research because it's not taught in schools. Unless you have a conversation with a black fella, or unless you do your research, you Google these days. Unless you do your research and then have an understanding about why people are protesting, or why they're angry, or why there's this heartbreak that they're facing or feeling, then you truly have an understanding, and then they become allies. And the marches, the massive marches in Sydney, Brisbane, all over the country, Melbourne, Perth, Adelaide, it filled my heart with joy, even though the worst of the worst circumstances of why we're marching. But I think the future, once we gain those allies and more of them, and we have those conversations with the white fellas, and all our Asian brothers and sisters, and Lebanese and Islanders and Greeks and Italians. Once we have our conversation with our Indian brothers, everybody that's migrated to this country and made this country the country that it is. And once we come in, we can be united and be a country that we can truly say that is the lucky country, because we have so much potential in this country to be that lucky country that we love to coin that phrase so often.
Yes.
And toss it out there. But we're not, it's only lucky for some.
Yeah.
And so all this movement, I mean, it's gaining a lot of momentum, and the marches are still going, not only in this country but around the world. And there's a lot of momentum. I'm loving it.
You now have 2 Aboriginal boys.
Yeah.
What are you teaching them about what you've been through and what to look forward to?
Yeah, I want them. I want them to gain their education about their culture.
Yes.
That's one big thing I want them to do. I don't want them to lose their culture. Both their mothers aren't Aboriginal, so it's up to me to make sure that they remember who they are and what they are from my side and my mother's side, and it goes on that lineage. I want them to get that education about what's happening in the world. That my eldest boy's left school. He's finished his high school.
Wow.
Yeah. I know. I'm old.
No.
No, I had him very young.
No.
And so he's a great kid. He's got a job, but I want him to continue his education. Further himself in life, and I'm going to instill that in my little fella as well. And give them the real facts about what's happened. I mean, my oldest boy knows now. And my youngest boy hopefully will. But I don't want to only educate them. I want them to be educated at school. I want the school system to be able to educate not only my kids, but every kid, It gets tiring at times to have to explain yourself to non-Indigenous people about, certain, aspects of what we've gone through over the years, the stolen generation, the invasion. It gets tiring. I love to educate people, but it does get tiring.
Oh, yeah.
I want them to get an education themselves. I want them to go out and get the knowledge themselves. And a lot of people have been doing that lately. But I'd love to see it through the education system. So I'd love to challenge, the education system in this country, in every state and territory in this country to get out there and, from childcare centres to learn about the Aboriginal culture, every childcare centre, and then slowly learn into high school, the massacres that happened, and, do projects about deaths in custody, and, know about people who've passed away, know their names, and know the reasons why they passed. And I think, once we do have that education, like I said before, about the true history and facts about this country, then it can only be a better thing for us as a people and as a society, as a nation.
100%. So Luke, one of your roles that you're famous for in my household especially is your role on Play School. Both my kids call you Uncle Luke.
Yeah, I love your
and
kids.
I'd force them to call you Uncle Luke besides that. But they love seeing you on Play School. What's Play School like? Like, that's one of my dream roles, to be on that.
Yeah, it is fun. It's an honour.
Yeah.
55 years, I think it's been on TV now. I think it's the second longest running show ever. And so, I think every Australian's watched Play School at least once in their lifetime growing up. And
Surely.
I know. And we've been around longer than the Wiggles.
Yeah.
There should be a Black Wiggle butt. Maybe, yeah. Oh, there we go. There should be, shouldn't there? Yeah, there, now we're talking.
What are we
I know,
what are we doing?
I know, what are we doing? I know.
That's so good.
Yeah. And, I watched it growing up, and, we're educating children. I recently did myself and Rachel Coops, and I thank the producers of Play School. They come up with the idea of doing a Black Lives Matter anti-racism little segment.
Yep.
And we spoke about how racism is not good, but in a way that we could deliver it to children. And we got a great response from that. It was so good. But I'm the first Aboriginal male presenter, regular presenter on there in its history. And so when I was told that, I was pretty stoked with that.
Yeah, that's
Before me was the late Auntie Pauline McLeod. She was the first, and Christine Arnoon, Deb Malman. So they were on before, and those three women, strong women, were on, and then I come along. Uncle Bob Mazza was on for one episode back in the day.
wow.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't know that.
yeah. He presented an episode.
So cool.
Yeah, and now we've got Hunter Page, who's come on board, Miranda Tapsell. And we've had some guests, people come in for little guest roles here and there, which is awesome.
So good.
But loving it. And now we've introduced, last year we did a special NAIDOC episode. It was a Welcome to the Country episode, and we introduced a new doll, Kaya, Aboriginal doll, which means yes in the Noongar language of Western Australia. And it play school's history, it was pretty historical. Not only did we introduce a new doll, but in its presenting team, there was 3 of us, and it was myself, Miranda, and Hunter. And it's the first time in its history that there's been an all Aboriginal presenting cast on play schools.
Yes.
So it was
So
pretty
good.
deadly.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
go check that out.
Yeah.
It's really good.
So
Yeah.
10 years now I've been on there. So
10
hopefully-
years?
Yeah, this is my
Yeah.
10th year. So hopefully there's another decade ahead of me, and I'm loving it. I love it. I just, and I feel it's the most the best equal opportunity employer in the business. We have a presenter who's deaf. We have all different nationalities represented. It's awesome, and a short statured person as well, Kirina, and we just don't discriminate, and and we want to show the kids that we all are different, but we're all the same really, and that's what Place was all about.
All right, you mob, it's that time to play Is It the Real or Is It Gammon? It's my favourite part of this show. So here, Luke. So is it the real? Is it true? Is it gammon? Is it false?
All right.
So you got to flip the paddle. When I ask the following questions, I promise I won't throw you under the bus, but probably I'm going to. Let's be honest. Okay. Is it the real or gammon that you know every blackfella in Sydney?
The real deal, baby. I don't know. That's my hood.
Yeah.
From the inner city out to western suburbs where there's big blackfellas. Down Campbelltown way. I know them all.
You do?
Yeah.
That's like
in some way,
Yeah.
In some way.
So good. All right. Is it the real or gammon that your beautiful little boy Enzo was the first Sydney baby born into 2014?
That is real.
Really?
Yep. The star was born. He was. We were in the suite, the delivery suite, and the midwives kept coming between our ward and another ward. There was another lady giving birth, and they did a phone call around to all the Sydney hospitals, and it was between the two of us. It was a race, and because the media were ringing up saying, "Look, we want to come into the hospital tomorrow and interview you guys," and paper and TV newsreel. So. Yep, we won by about 20 minutes. 20 to 1 he was born, and the next morning we were up bright and early getting interviewed. He was on all the news broadcasts, each network. In
Poor
the paper.
Enzo's mum.
I know, bless her.
I can't even imagine as
I
the
know,
mum.
I know. Big effort from her, yeah.
Cameras in your face after all that. Oh.
Yeah, so he was the first baby of the year.
Oh, cute.
The star was born, little fella. I was pushing him back in. Hey, stop. Don't steal my limelight.
Oh, it's coming.
Yeah, it already is.
It's
It's
like
already
my
stolen.
son. He's already taken off.
Yeah.
All right. Is it the real or gammon that you've never forgotten your lines?
It's gammon. I've been pretty good. Theatre, it's scary forgetting your lines on stage because you've got nowhere to hide and you can't say cut. You've got 1,000 people in front of you. But luckily, you should have good actors opposite you that can help you steer you in the right direction to get you back on track. But I've lost it plenty of times.
But you keep it cool.
Keep it cool.
I've never.
Keep it cool, yeah.
All the
TV
shows.
you can cut and go again.
Yeah.
Theatre you can just keep going, but you just keep the poker face on and.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, here we go. Is it the real or gammon that in 2012 you were a part of the World Indigenous Australian OzTag Champions? And is that the real or gammon?
Yeah, keep going.
No, that's the question.
That's real. That's real.
real.
Yeah.
And then I have a follow-up question.
Yeah.
Did you then, to celebrate, do a dance and get down to your infamous budgie smugglers.
100% real. 100% real. Can I tell that story?
Yes, please.
So
I don't want to tell that story.
So OzTag is like, it's like rugby league, a non-contact version of rugby league, but it's grown, like touch report, it's just grown, it's exploded. And we have a World Cup, and there's nations from, they're mainly all Australian-based nations, Philippine, people with Filipino backgrounds, so we get most of them, but we have teams from Japan come over, England, Ireland, and New Zealand. And we're playing over in Auckland, and there's an Indigenous team. So Jeff Hardy, if you're watching, brother, you're the man. He came up with the concept of saying, look, you want the real Australia, the Indigenous Australian, play, have a team, and represent. So Australia had never been beaten by an Indigenous team until 2012. Well, I played with the mixed team, and I was the male captain, and we played in the round robin against Australia twice, and they absolutely smashed us. And they'd been training for 2 months. We only met, it was players from Queensland and New South Wales. And so we couldn't train together. So we met each other 2 days before the tournament in Auckland, come up with some moves, basic moves, and just went with it. But we made the final. And Paulie House, a lad from Canberra, brought over a didge and some clapsticks. You know Paulie?
Yes.
Yeah, Canberra girl. And it was in North Harbour Stadium. And as I was we were giving them prep talk, and I said, look, we had the Aboriginal flag. I said, look, you beeped, play for your mob. Look who you representing. You know, think about your mob back home. Who you representing? You know, we're the real Australia here. Like we're playing Australia, but hey, we're the real Australia. Let's go out and represent. And that's, forget about those early games. Let's go out and just have a crack. And when we ran out, Paulie started playing the didge and the clapsticks, and I went all around the stadium, and the hairs in the back of my head. Oh man, I'm getting shivers. It was the best. It was the best, and it just lifted us, and we pumped them. We beat them, and we had big celebrations. So then after, we had a presentation on stage, and I think there's 4,500 participants in the whole tournament, and I had me budgie smugglers, Aboriginal budgie smugglers underneath, and we'd been celebrating for maybe about an hour since our victory, because it was a bit later on in the evening, and I said, Paulie, come up when we get our trophy. Come up and bring the didge, bros, and I'll do. Hey, come on, you mob, come on, let's do a little corroboree, dance and that. And everyone was real shame.
Yeah,
I said, what are you
were the only one.
I said, well, stuff you, mob. I'm doing it. So got up there, and Paulie started playing the didge, and I don't know, the ancestors just come within me, and I just started doing dances and that.
We may edit a clip
right
now.
Yeah. And then did the dance, and
it was good dance.
Boom,
They're infamous budgie smugglers.
Yeah, they are.
You wear them all the time. I'm surprised you're not wearing them right now.
No. Only in summertime. It's too cold.
So good. Okay, final question. Is it the real or Gammon that you're actually the biggest Roosters fan going?
Them fighting words. That is proper Gammon. I hate the Roosters. I hate them.
I know you do.
Hate them. I'm Rabbitohs. I bleed red and green. And as you know, you may not know, the Rabbitohs and the Roosters are the biggest rivalry in the rugby league in this country. So we're neighbours, but we're the poor brother. But we represent so much more, I believe. We represent community. We represent what I grew up in. It's a blackfella team, the Rabbitohs. Before it was a New South Wales Rugby League before 1988, and then it became the Australian Rugby League. So Brisbane Broncos came in North Queensland Cowboys. So there are a lot of blackfellas from Queensland before they had the Broncos or North Queensland to support. They went for the Rabbitohs because they were based in Redfern. Redfern's the black capital of Australia. The block was down there, the first AMS, first legal service. If you're a blackfella from interstate, you catch a train in Redfern. You walk down a block, you got a house, you got a place to sleep that night. So,
I knew that would get you.
Cheeky, eh? Got me alright.
Well, thank you, my brother. This has been so good to have you on and yarn, and I always feel so honoured to work with you, and hopefully we will be working together very soon.
I love what you do, so hopefully very soon.
Very soon.
But I love what you do, my sister, and keep it up. Keep it up.
Yeah, you too, and give our love to the boys.
We'll do. Ditto.
All right. Thank you, mob. Keep safe. Wash them hands. 1.5, keeping it real. But thank you guys. Yawo.
Yawo. Big yawo.